I'm Jeff Miller, CME Computer and IT Solutions. At Everyday Spacer, we show regular folk how to personally and directly participate in space exploration, science, and astronomy. We're here on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, 12 midnight Eastern Time, and 12 noon on Saturday in Hong Kong. We're broadcasting live from Thousand Oaks, California. Thank you so much for being here. Earlier this week, we may have picked up something, and Pam will be missing this episode. She's kind of under the weather, and I'm doing better. Oops. But she's not quite able to make it. So nothing terrible. Just so well wishes would be nice, but you don't have to worry. Yeah. Hey, Cliff. So tonight's topic, we did a crunchy topic, and Cosmos 482 re-entry, since that happened. It hadn't happened yet when we picked it, but we kind of knew it was coming, and that happened soon. Hey, Scott. Yeah, thanks. Here, let's go. And so I'm going to try to run the show by myself, so that'll be fun. So, hi, Don. Yep, I hope so too. Got just a little bit of it, but Pam seems to have been hit worse. Probably because a lot of my daytime is customer facing, so I'm exposed to a whole lot more than she is. But let's do the book. We'll be back in 8.3 seconds. Okay. There's a link to that book in the description. Cosmos 482 returned to Earth Saturday, May 10th, 2025. I almost said 1925, which would have been a good trick because it hadn't been launched by then. It was bound for Venus. What was it? Why was it sent? Why didn't it get to Venus? And where did it land? And why did it return to Earth 53 years after it was launched? Tonight we'll share what we learned. And Everyday Spacer is sponsored by CME Computer and IT Solutions. So let's just hop right into it. Here we go. How's it? Her computer set up differently than mine. There we go. Here is, there's a lot of news on it. NBC News. Just wanted to share this image right there because, here, let's do it a little bit down so that we can see it. This is actually the lander. This is what came down. Now, a lot of news sources said pretty much the same thing, and not very much, and they all got it from a separate source. Earth Sky had essentially the same article, a little bit more broken up and a little bit more detail. They had a decent video here. I'm not going to play it because it's long enough, and we'll be talking about it. You know what? While I'm sharing the screen here, I can't see you guys, so hang on one moment while I set this up so that I can see your comments. I didn't realize that when I started. Usually we run two computers, and I'm going to do that again. Okay. There we go. Now I can see your comments over there. Okay. So again, Earth Sky has a better write-up, and you can just find it there. I will share these in the comments after we're done here. This is a better write-up on it. And so this has a good pickup on what it was. It was um, here. Let's see. It was a Venera mission, which means that it was a Venus lander, and we're gonna call it Venera 8 almost, because one of the things that I learned is that in the Venera space program, and here let's see a list of missions to Venus. This has all of the missions to Venus. Venera 1, we had a couple. Venera 2, 3, Venera 4, 5, 6, 7, Venera 8, Venera 9. Now, what became Cosmos 482 was launched 4 days after Venera 8. And Cliff. Yep. Oh yeah. In fact, SatTracker. This guy actually had it dialed in. He was tracking it for this entire time, Cliff. Yeah. But I learned something, that at least in the later stages, the Soviets would launch 2 vehicles. That's why this Venera mission was launched 4 days after Venera 8. And if you notice, if it says Cosmos, that's a launch that never made it out of low Earth orbit. Anything that's in Earth orbit, they call it Cosmos something. If it's going to another planet, apparently they use the planet name for it. So this was another failed launch, probably a Venera 7 failed launch, because they were very averse to the idea of failure, to the image of failure. Oh, hey Naomi. I'll be a little bit slow on comments because I'm running the show by myself and I have to pay attention to 2 computers. And well, paying attention to one thing is a trick for me. Cliff. Yes. Yeah. In fact, there were 4 pieces to it, Cliff, and we'll get to that in a little bit later. But so they kept launching stuff, and they up until Venera 9, it seemed to be a 50-50 success rate for these. With a couple of ones that went well. What would they do if both of them made it to Venus? My guess, I don't have any good information for this. My guess is that they just combined the inputs and called it one vehicle and just presented the inputs from both of them as a single, as a single vehicle. But that's just my guess. I don't actually know on that. All I know is that Venera 7 was followed by a failed launch. If you notice, about 5 days apart. This was 4 days apart. So, you can see a trend going there. Yep. And a lot of it landed on you guys and New Zealand, Cliff. So that is kind of what's been going on in the 70s when they were launching these. And this is a little bit on the Venera 8. Now, the one that made it to Venus, they named Venera 8. And they just renamed the other one so that, yes, we knew it was up there, and they called it Cosmos just so that possibly to trick us into thinking that it wasn't a failed Venus mission. I don't know. But, or they just were fooling themselves. Yeah. In fact, one theory is that the Soviets promoted the idea of UFOs simply so that so not as much attention would be paid to their launches, because a lot of their launches caused a big stir in other nations as that they flew over. And so they were promoting the idea of UFOs to cover up the fact that they were launching stuff. I don't know how true that is. That's a story that I heard, but seems likely given the whole craze there and where a lot of the sightings were pretty much under their launch corridors. And this shows the journey to Venus of the one that made it there. But and like I said, this guy here has a really good site, and I'm assuming he tracks other stuff too, but he kind of made it his mission to track this Cosmos 482, and he has a lot of orbital data. I mean, he has a lot in there. Anton also had a really good video, which is, we had pretty much decided to do this, and then Anton did his own video, and it had a lot of good information in it. So if you want to go see it, because he has some images of the vehicle up in there, and I don't think that there are any here because this guy's just here, let's see, 40 seconds long. Let's play this. So that's it. Now there are some blown up images or with better scopes that actually showed something dangling off of it, which they assumed was the unopened parachute, and that would be and the question was, would the parachute actually slow it down? Nah, not really. And they were saying that there was a good chance that it would hit intact because it was made to enter Venus's atmosphere and soft land on Venus. And 300 Gs is what it was designed to take. And I think it would have, if it had come in cleanly, but did see that video, yeah. Are you talking about the one that I just showed or the Anton one? Anton had a really good video. But there are people who said that the way it hit the atmosphere at such a shallow angle that it probably tumbled. So it wasn't going in heat shield first necessarily. We don't know that, but that is what they think is the likely outcome. So it could have broken up. We don't really have enough eyewitnesses. It landed in the North Indian Ocean, and so far I haven't seen any videos of it. So I don't know if anyone has a video of it coming in. So we don't know if it broke up or not. Technically, the Soviet Union owns it, and if anyone finds it, they need to give it back to, well, Russia now, I guess, because they're the successors of the Soviet Union. So now the other pieces of it dropped on New Zealand. There were 4 pieces. 2 of them dropped on New Zealand. I don't know where the third ended up, but it separated into 2 of which remained in low Earth orbit and decayed in 48 hours into South New Zealand. But Soviet Union did not acknowledge that it owned those, and they only figured out that it was from that vehicle by looking at the markings on the pieces that came in. Yeah, me too. She's feeling better than she did yesterday and the day before, so she's on the mend. It's just, it's one of those things that comes and goes, and it started coming again, and she didn't want to have to bail halfway in the middle of a show. So here we are. You should see her again next week. If not, if nothing else, I'll drag the camera in there and say, hey, there's Pam, which would probably be good fun for me for like about 3 seconds. Since the Soviet Union didn't accept it, the farmer got to own it. I don't know what he did with it. That would be interesting. Was he able to make any money off of it? Don't know. But that'd be a nifty keepsake. And so the last remaining piece, now they talked about 2 of the pieces, and this one that came in is the last remaining piece. So I don't know where the 3rd one ended up. So we'll just have to, eventually someone's going to mention where the 3rd piece ended up. But what happened was an incorrect timer set caused the block L stage to cut off prematurely. That was what was supposed to boost it from Earth, from the Earth resting orbit into a heading for Venus. But it cut off early, so it basically shut down before it could produce enough oomph to reach escape velocity from the Earth. And it ended up in a very, very eccentric orbit. And although the orbit did circularize slowly over time, because one part of it scraped the upper atmosphere, and so that would slow it down. And so it eventually circularized, and the atmosphere is what caused it to auger in, because it was slow each time, and eventually it slowed enough that it came in just May 10th, 2025. Our Kosmos says that it impacted the Indian Ocean at 6:24 a.m. UTC west of Jakarta, Indonesia. So pretty much middle of nowhere. No one's missing a boat so far. So we're going to assume it just hit water, and whether it's intact, if it fell correctly, it could very well be intact. If it was tumbling, if it survived the atmosphere, it probably splattered itself when it hit the concrete, which would be the water at that speed, because water does not compress, and the water molecules don't have time to get out of the way. So it'd be like hitting concrete. So maybe even harder. So it probably broke up on hitting the water, but it might still be at the bottom of the Indian Ocean. Would be a neat thing for John Carpenter to go look for. Yeah, and he might. The Space Review also had, I just like this image of it. Look at those antennas. Nothing like what we would use nowadays. But so they have a pretty good article that pretty much takes the site track cam info and makes it a little bit more readable for the average person. And you notice 1972, 1922, it had circularized pretty good, and just the movement of the atmosphere had actually changed its orbit slightly too. And yeah, is it the only descent craft? Yeah, we don't know anything aside from the 2 bits that hit New Zealand and now the bit that hit the Indian Ocean. Yeah, here. Would make a big hole in the ISS if it hit that. Yes, and the ISS its orbit probably took that into account. My guess is that, since it was a known object, that it was planned around, and the ISS does have maneuvering. So if it like had detected that, oh, in about 3 years it's going to get really close, they would have moved ISS a little bit, used those 3 years to move it out of the way. It's when it's when things happen. Like if it had hit something substantial and changed its orbit, then the ISS might have been in real danger. But space is big. Just like we knew that it was 75% chance of hitting water. Um, and space is even bigger than our oceans. And so Pam says, is the Indian Ocean so deep that it could not be recovered? It has some pretty deep spots and some pretty shallow spots. I don't know that specific area because we don't know exactly where it hit, just the general area. I would imagine that with our deep dive subs that we could find it, but it'd be like finding a marble on California beaches. A single marble on this entire stretch of California beaches, because Indian Ocean looks small compared to the Pacific right next to it, but that's a lot of space. And the lander is not is it's big-ish, but not big compared to the Indian Ocean. So yeah, might be able to find it. I think it'd take a lot of looking. I think it'd be a real trophy in someone's hat if they did find it. But we'll see. And will the Russians actually ask for it back? They should. I mean, if nothing else, to put in a museum. Yeah, we actually knew more about Cliff. We actually knew more about where the Titanic was, because they would keep logs and they would transmit their locations and stuff. And another ship was there to rescue some of the people. Well, the survivors. Wouldn't say some of the survivors, because anyone who survived actually got picked up by the rescue ship. So we know pretty much the where the Titanic was. So it's not going down to it that's the issue. It's the combing the entire region looking for something that's about 8 to 10 foot diameter. Maybe a little bit bigger, but and if it broke up, it'd be even smaller pieces. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think the chances of finding it are huge, but it might be worth enough bragging points that people will look. I wonder how much longer we can get a lander to last on Venus with current technology. I don't know. I think not terribly much longer, because remember when the Russians build something, and I'm going to bring it back so that here, I'm just going to bring it back to us because I think we're done with showing stuff. Because even though we've got better technology, Scott, it's not that much better. And the Russians, when they build stuff, built it to last. I mean, they overbuilt, and not overbuilt with safety features. Like they didn't build 3 safety features into something. They just made things 3 times stronger. In fact, the reason why we've got this Kosmos 482 is because they launched 2 of them to get to Venus. I mean, they basically were dropping tanks onto Venus. And so could we make something that's as heavy and robust as that, but last longer? Probably. But when you think about it, most of our heat dissipation technologies revolve around there being some place to put that heat. And when Venus is when the outside is the source of the heat, and all you're doing is trying to keep the heat from getting to the delicate parts long enough for the delicate parts to do their job before everything melts. And that's what the Russians did. They just made it so that It slowly melted from the outside in and let the thing do its job um, until it just got too hot. Um, and we could extend it by a little bit. I don't know that we could extend it significantly because, again, there's nowhere to put the heat. There's nothing to keep it from reaching those temperatures. And all of our technology goes to making things more delicate and more heat sensitive. Yes, it's faster, but it's not as robust. I'd say we'd actually have to go backward in technology to make something robust enough to take that. Um, so if they can find and recover an F1 engine in the capsule that sank, they will find it. Yeah, they probably will. I just think it's going to be a job because no one was on site. No one basically pinpointed where it ended up, but we'll see. I think it'll be big news when someone finds it. Yeah, Lander had to stand over 90 bar. That's huge. Yes. Yeah, I don't think that there's any ocean on this planet that would cause any damage to it, is assuming it survived hitting the surface of the ocean. Because, like I said, that's just like smacking rock. Maybe even harder than rock at that point, because the water doesn't compress and it's just would has a now would it have an instantaneous velocity drop of or instantaneous acceleration of 300 Gs? Don't know. If not, then it probably survived. If it did, yeah, we're probably talking pieces, but we'll see. Oh, I didn't actually say what the heat was because I forgot, but it can take heat. I mean, there's nothing in the re-entry that caused any heat damage to that sucker, except for maybe the parachute that was trailing after it. Because, like I said, there was a image of it up there with something dangling off of it, and the best guess was that it was the parachute, but the parachute would not have deployed as it came down, and the Earth's atmosphere isn't thick enough to really make that parachute work very well, even if it did. So the parachute itself probably burned up on reentry, but I don't think the vehicle took any damage from the atmosphere. I think any damage that it took was from hitting the water, because it wasn't made with the antennas dangling off of it. Yeah, those probably got ripped off, but because the shield that it was supposed to have apparently wasn't there, or they think wasn't there. They don't know. If the shield was there, might have survived better. If it wasn't there, yeah, dangly bits would have gotten peeled off, but the main bulk of it would have been a bowling ball hitting the concrete from a 10-story building. So yeah, that's about all I've got on that. Actually, I have more, but I think I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm going to put the links in the comments when we're done here, just because I'm trying not to cough here. So I think I'll get on with doing the ephemeris. Some stellar events this week: May 16th through May 23rd. May 17th, Uranus and the Sun are in conjunction, of which you'll see the Sun. May 18th is Globe at Night. They do 10-day project runs, and it's May 18th through the 27th and this is to determine light pollution in different areas. So if you have the time, in the Northern Hemisphere, look for Leo or Booties in the north, or Crux in the south, and you use the Globe at Night app on your phone, snap a shot and upload it, and it'll determine your light level and help create a map of light pollution. Mostly this is for the US, but I think you can do it from anywhere. And I think it would be good data to have places other than the US. And you could consider it a citizen science project too. Also on the 18th, Pluto and the moon are in conjunction, of which you'll see the moon, unless you've got a really good telescope. May 20th is the last quarter moon. May 22nd is a big day. Well, there's something happening there. This week is pretty light. The moon's on the equator at descending node. Saturn and the moon are in conjunction, and Saturn is 2.8 degrees south of the moon. And you'll see that in the morning, because that's one that you can actually see naked eye, if it's far enough away from the sun. I don't know. Neptune and the moon are also in conjunction, but without a telescope, you're not really seeing that. May 23rd, Venus and the moon are in conjunction. Venus is 4 degrees south of the moon. And again, Venus is showing up in the morning, very brightly, by the way. I've been impressed by how bright it is in the morning. Also, May 23rd is our Friday night show. We're delving into an audience suggestion. Find us Fridays at 9 p.m. Pacific time on the Everyday Spacer Facebook page and the Everyday Spacer YouTube channel. So if you or someone you know has done something interesting involving space exploration, science, or astronomy, we'd love to share our live. Join us again Friday, May 23rd. Oh, let's see. That's kind of ephemeris. In the last 180 days, we have only had 45 days without rain. Then it's cloudy. Anyone wants some? Yeah, you can give some of that over to us here in California. Then maybe they'll stop complaining about the drought that has caused our reservoirs to overflow. So yes, we've been getting drought floods. Figure that one out. And not enough water to put out the fires too, even though our reservoirs are overflowing. So join us again next Friday. Oh, yeah, I did that already. Oh, no, I didn't. May 23rd, following suggestion from Dawn last week during the Spiral Galaxy episode. Dawn's comment on May 9th, on the May 9th show was, maybe you could follow up next week talking about classifying galaxies from NASA's James Webb Space Telescope on Galaxy Zoo. It's 15% complete right now. And we just looked, last time we looked, it was 18%. So it's not filling up too darn fast. So this will be a fun one. I mean, Galaxy Zoo is what got me into this whole mess. And now they're rerunning Galaxy Zoo on Zooniverse with the James Webb data. So that'll be fun. And you know, we already had this episode planned out, and it was pretty timely with, with the Venus lander coming in. So that's why we put off Don's suggestion until next week. That'll tell you how far we plan our shows. By the way, Roger Carlson will be the guest on our show on May 30th. So we're actually got 2 weeks out planned. Yay. His bio is fascinating, and he has a presentation. And here's the title of his presentation: Traveling the Silk Orbital Flyway to Space, a reference to the Silk Road of old. Yeah, and Pam says, we should be better next week, or at least healthier. We'll see about the better part. And, oh, yeah, thank you. I plan on putting myself to bed in not too long too. So I think that's about it for tonight, folks. I will wish you a good night, and sorry I couldn't be on here longer, but have a great day, folks.